Hey friends, it's me, Wendy, back with you today on Read Through the Word, January 19th. And I will go ahead and lay it out like I do each year during my first lesson with Job. And it happens to be the 19th, the very first intro to the book of Job. In fact, I think I put a link here for you, like who is Job? I did, just to kind of go in a little bit about who he is and his background and all. So I'm not going to teach all of that part of the story, but I will say, jumping into our lesson, I will say this. This is not my favorite book of the Bible. No disrespect to you, God. Absolutely no disrespect for you, because I know that I can learn, and I'm already learning things as I'm preparing lessons for the book of Job as we're going through it. But it's just a gloomy donkey Eeyore book. And I know that there are people that really do like it, and I am so glad. But it is tough. And so I want you to just be on alert. We have known the book of Job, the study of the book of Job, to be a trigger for individuals who have had trauma in their lives. So I want you to be alert for that, and be aware that Holy Spirit could be bringing some things up to teach you and to heal you from past hurt and trauma. So I want to say that from the get-go. I am a believer, before I even get into our lesson, I am a believer in biblical counseling, and I don't mean a Christian counselor. I mean a Christian counselor who uses the Bible for counseling. There is a difference. So I encourage you, if you find yourself in a place of struggle, to seek out professional help. Maybe your church has someone in mind. If you need a point of reference, maybe there's a Christian counseling center in your area. But just be a little bit on alert here, because it can bring up a lot of past struggles and pain. And maybe you're in the middle of going through a trial right now. And perhaps you're asking this question: does God just pick on certain people? I thought of the phrase, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. And I shared a link there about that phrase, and some teaching and some encouragement from this Joseph M. Jordan. I read his article and I found it sound. But that phrase, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers, is not in the Bible. It's not from the Bible. And honestly, in my periods or my seasons of battles, that's really not what I want to hear. That's not helpful. And you're going to find that Eliphaz and Bildad and Zophar, they're going to say lots of things that are not helpful. Some of the things that they say are going to be true, but the way they say them is unkind. And between Lisa and Dawn and myself, hopefully you will find, here's some resources and some just kind of bullet points on how to handle things, how to handle situations when people just aren't kind and they just aren't saying the right things. And also how to be that sounding board that does say the right things. I mean, they were off to a good start. They stayed with him for 7 days before they opened their mouth. You know, girls, we would have had that problem solved in 7 days or at least talked out. So I have to give them that. But all of that stuff from 7 days pent up, and boy, do they have conversation after that. But let me get back to this. The phrase means that we face difficult situations and challenges. We should view them as an opportunity to grow and develop our strength rather than punishment or a sign of weakness. It encourages us to believe in our abilities and trust that we have been given the tools we need to overcome adversity. Of course we do. Of course we have the tools because we have Christ and we are overcomers. We are victorious. It doesn't always seem that way. And I put a couple verses there for you at the end that I hope will encourage you, especially James 1, 2, and 4 in the Message. I absolutely love the way the Message paraphrases that. What we do know is, and I don't want to put a spoiler alert out there, but Job, he does become better. He was a good man and he becomes a better man and an even more blessed man after going through what he went through. So there is great value in trials and in testing. But I want to get back to that thought. Doesn't it seem that God picks on certain people? Do you know someone who you just think, oh my goodness, just one more thing? Could it really, how can this continue to happen to this family or to this person? What I want us to think about is that perhaps that God doesn't pick on people, but that he picks people. Because God says, did you notice my servant Job? So he saw something in Job worthy of this test of faith. Thus the saying is, oh my goodness, strongest soldier. I don't want to be a strong soldier. Oh, but we do want to be strong soldiers. We truly do. But there are times when we do feel like God is just picking on me. But he's not. He's picked you. And there is a difference. To pick on someone is to treat them unfairly and blame them and criticize them and punish them. But that's not our God. To pick someone for something is to choose them for a purpose. And it's to choose them for a benefit. Just those two phrases, pick on or pick. Can you see it clearly? It is not God's nature to pick on his children. But when he picks his children for certain battles and trials and journeys and seasons of difficulty, he's done it for the benefit of that person, for whatever reason. So God picked Job, and God has picked you, and God has picked me at times for seasons of trials. And this is kind of what I put together after my study in preparation for today's lesson is testing will reveal things we can't see. You know, Job probably thought he had some good friends. Well, by the end of it all, God was calling them to apologize to Job. Sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes the friends that we think are in our corner are not. And we need that to be revealed to us. So seasons of suffering and trial and testing can reveal what we can't see in others, but also it reveals in ourselves what we can't see. It will expose fear and doubt and resentment and bitterness and unforgiveness, hatred, loathing. Those things that are not the character of God, that are rooted in us and need to be unrooted. But also testing will reveal things about God we haven't seen before, that we would not ever see without having had gone through that season and that trial. So today, if you feel like you're being picked on, please know that you've been picked. I remember wanting to be picked for a kickball team or for the baseball or the softball team or whatever event, or to be on some kind of committee or whatever. Nobody's going to line up and say, pick me for that trial. But maybe we need to rethink that. God, if it's going to bring me closer to you, I'm thinking of Mercy Me's song, Then Let It Rain. Let it rain. Because I know you're right here with me. You'll never leave me. You'll never forsake me. You don't have anything but good in mind. And even if all of this has nothing to do with me, you're going to work it out for my good. So today, celebrate being picked by God. See you next time on Read Through the Word.